Good morning. It is Sunday in Los Angeles. It's late morning and it is December 17th. Welcome to My Left Ear. And this is my co-host, Petey Freeman. And I know everybody likes to see him. He stays quiet. He just entertains us with his beautiful demeanor. And he bathes. Oh, and he's gonna like take a little nap or something soon. So he might go over on his back and you'll see this incredible, glorious fur he has. So I am Carrie Freeman. My Left Ear is a left-leaning political YouTube channel with psychic commentary. And sometimes I do the runes more often than not. I am a change agent when I'm not doing this and doing my Patreon channel. And how am I a change agent? I do therapeutic hypnosis and intuitive coaching, psychic coaching. And I help people with writing projects, creative projects, because I have a background. I'm an author. I wrote The Comics Daughter, which is featured in the community section if you scroll down. And there's information about The Comics Daughter. I still have books to sell. This is the book. People have given me great reviews on it. But I'm running out of copies, which is good news for me. And I have a Patreon channel. I'm going to talk about the Patreon at the end here because I have kind of a special little announcement about it. So here we go. I'm disseminating current stories for the day and adding the psychic commentary from My Left Ear because that's how I get information. So I have a few corrections because my viewers, will write me and correct me when I'm wrong or off. So I wanted to say last video, I was talking about Trump and the legalities, and I kept saying impunity instead of immunity. Now they're similar. So I wasn't completely off the charts, but I want to read you the definition. So immunity refers to legal protection that exempts a person from liability, punishment, or legal action that would otherwise apply. Immunity can be granted in various contexts, including criminal and civil cases, administrative proceedings, and legislative inquiries. Then impunity, which is the word I used, I'm sorry, I was distracted by Petey's tail. So when I went to Google, I said, what does it mean to commit a crime with impunity? So it told us impunity is the freedom from punishment or pain. That applies. If someone has committed a punishable offense but does not have to fear punishment because they have immunity, he or she does it with impunity. So let's just take Rudy Giuliani and these horrible threats to these two women, Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, and he didn't do it with impunity. He got nailed, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit further down. Here's another correction. Either Shay Moss or Ruby Freeman, because they're mother and daughter, I said one of them passed a gingerbread cookie during, their work, their poll work, but it was a ginger mint. And I know we're splitting hairs, but I wanted to correct it. And then with Hunter Biden, Hunter did not attend Harvard. I apologize. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in history from Georgetown University. And then he went on to Yale Law School and graduated Yale Law School in 1996. He's a very educated guy. He's a very smart guy. Now, this is just a little side note. I think I'm okay without the glasses right now. Out of the blue, I texted a friend of mine who I haven't talked to in a while, but he lives here in Los Angeles. I've known him for a long time. He is a professional ventriloquist, and he's very successful, and he's brilliant. And early on, I met him through mutual friends, and I would see he and his wife at parties, blah, blah, blah. He ended up writing a one-man show, and it went to Broadway. But when he was preparing it, before he went to Broadway, I went to see like kind of a test run of it at a theater here in Los Angeles, and saw the show, thought it was remarkable, 90 minutes without a break, just him and just his dummies, because he's so funny, he's so talented. So I texted him this morning, just something that was funny about Marjorie Taylor Greene, because I think the thing said, oh, I can't remember what, I'm gonna bypass that. If I find it, I'll put it on my community section, because I'll put on my community section what I sent him. It's kind of a funny joke about her. That if the ventriloquist dies, the dummy keeps talking, and they were referring to her. So that's the essence of the joke. Anyway, I sent it to him, and he wrote me back, and he had a wicked car accident that could have taken his life. And it was with his little precious little dog, Harry. And Harry is named after Jay's best friend, who is no longer with us. And I'd have to reread the tweet, but it sounds like he ejected the car, or he was hit, and he I think it was, he must have been walking, and he literally flew into the air, and he destroyed his shoulder. Harry was found unconscious, but millions of people rushed, and there was a veterinarian who took Harry's vitals, and Harry was just knocked out, and Harry is going to be okay. Little Harry, little beautiful Harry. And so is Jay, but he was rushed to a trauma center, and he had 5 hours of surgery. Now he's on pain meds. I'm going to go over and see him sometime this week, whenever he feels up to it. But this was just shocking, and it made me late, because I wrote him back and blah, blah, blah. But it got me thinking, because I wanted to tell you about a couple of psychic events that I've been involved with that are really cool. And one is really recent, like 4 days ago. After I saw Jay's show, before it went to New York, I wrote him a letter, like in cursive, on paper, put it in an envelope, stamped it, mailed it to him. This was not an email. And I said, Jay, I want to tell you something. Your show is going to get nominated for a Tony, and you are going to win a Tony. Keep this letter. Guess what? It got nominated for a Tony, and he won the Tony Award. So then he gave me the nickname Spooky, which I love. That's my nickname, Spooky. But he texted me from backstage after he got his Tony Award, and he wrote, Spooky, I just won the Emmy, and your letter's in my tuxedo pocket. So we are bonded. We are close. He's going to be okay. But that's what made me late. Oh, my heavens. I just can't even believe it. I'm still in shock. And now here's the one that happened like 3-4 days ago that I personally got a kick out of, because I didn't know. I wrote something on Twitter, but I didn't know that it was my left ear. I thought I was making a joke. So I answered a tweet by a wonderful political writer and podcaster named Greg Olear, Olear. He writes brilliant stuff. And I said that Ruby Freeman, we have the same last name, I'm so proud, and Jay Moss, her daughter, are going to win $75 million. And I thought I was making a joke, but I wasn't making a joke. They got awarded $75 million in punitive damages. They got more than that. They got a total of $148 million. Now we got to wait and see how they're going to collect some of that. But huge, huge. So when they got awarded the $75 million, I was like, what? I was joking, but I'm very proud of it, and I wanted to share it with you. And I think it's just fabulous, the support they are getting. Nothing will take away that Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump almost ruined their lives. And I even had my left ear hit that during this time where they had to go into hiding and their lives were being threatened. I just know that individually, one or both of them probably thought about suicide. Just feel it in my bones. Thank God they didn't, but that's how serious it got for them. 75 million. Wow. All right. So, Bill Palmer, I have mentioned Bill Palmer. He's sort of brilliant, I think. I follow him on Twitter. Don't know what Bill's background is. I think it's probably legal. But I'm really liking a lot of his blurbs that he's putting out, little reports, short little reports. So I'm going to read this to you because it's great and hopeful. This is kind of called How Rudy's Huge Judgment Will Affect Donald Trump. So here's what Bill wrote. When a civil trial jury found Rudy Giuliani liable for lying about Georgia election workers and awarded 9 figures in damages, Donald Trump wasn't technically on trial. But let's be real here. This was Trump's top henchman spreading Trump's election lies and harassing election workers in Trump's name. This was a verdict also against Donald Trump. 2 of Trump's criminal trials will focus on Trump's attempt at overturning the 2020 election. Of course, right now that's supposed to start March 4th, but we got to wait and see. Those trials will have similar parameters, overlapping circumstances, and even many of the same witnesses that we just saw in Giuliani's civil trial. And so it would be Washington, D.C. with Chutkan on March 4th, and then Georgia with Fani Willis, but we don't have a date for that yet. So those are the 2 that we're talking about. So even many of the same witnesses that we just saw in Giuliani's civil trial, where the ladies just won, where the civil jury was so sickened by Trump Giuliani's antics that it handed down $148 million to these wonderful women. Now, we're finishing this up. The biggest difference is that while the Giuliani verdict was in a civil trial where the only penalties are money, Trump is facing criminal trials where a verdict against him will send him to prison. But, Giuliani is also facing criminal trial, and I believe that would be Georgia for the most part, but maybe both trials, DC and Georgia. So last line, he says, if Giuliani's civil trial was a test case for how juries view the Trump regime's antics in 2020, then the verdict says that Donald Trump is going to be convicted and given a harsh prison sentence. That's what I wanted to share. And you know what? I want to share something with you. Can you read this? It says boss lady. And I took it, and it was in my laundry room. So I love it. So I'm sharing it with you. I am the boss lady. Okay. Adam Kinzinger just wrote something that really amused me. Now, he was a congressman. He was the Republican who joined with Liz Cheney and told the truth. And he left Congress. She got ousted, but he left Congress. Smart guy. So I think he might be a consultant on CNN. I'm not sure, but he's doing great. And he's one smart guy. But I just have to share this with you. This is what he wrote. I'm genuinely surprised how people close to Trump haven't talked about the odor. It's truly, I'm sorry, it just makes me laugh. It's truly something to behold, he wrote. Wear a mask if you can. Oh my God, it's so funny. And I had told you all weeks ago that I didn't feel equipped and I don't have the emotional strength to cover Israel, Palestine, Hamas, and the tragedies. I just don't have my nervous system and my brain can't handle it. I know what's going on, but I just can't deliver it back to you. But I'm going to say one thing. My left ear thinks that Joe Biden is going to have to stop funding at some point because of the atrocities. Almost everybody is like wanting Israel, to do well, but what do I know? That's all I want to say. I'm going to stop there because I don't want to get like past my skis, as they say. Biden will have to stop funding at some point or seriously reduce it if Netanyahu doesn't adjust the attacks, these brutal, horrific attacks. It's like everybody's getting wiped out. It's the most horrible thing. Now we're going to move on to one of my favorite topics that won't be my favorite topic next year because we'll be getting rid of him. But pastor, speaker, pervert, insurrectionist, Mike Johnson, his wife, Kelly Johnson, runs a pastoral counseling service. And my left ear wonders if it's about conversion therapy, LGBT conversion therapy. What is her training? And I don't know if you've heard her speak, but she talks like a little girl. I mean, she's a grown woman, and she talks like a little girl. It's very creepy. And I think it speaks of the dominance he has in the relationship per the crazy, there's a name for their marital status, and I can't remember what it is. It's basically saying, you can't divorce me easily, and I dominate you. These are my words. That's sort of the nature of this covenant. That's what it's called, a covenant. So we're going to keep an eye on Mrs. Johnson, little girl Mrs. Johnson. Then, my left ear. Pastor, speaker, pervert, insurrectionist, and I like saying it, by the way, he will be indicted next year because he was one of the leaders behind the scenes of the insurrection. And then he incriminated himself last week by saying, we blurred the faces so people wouldn't get arrested. We're showing you the footage, but we don't want people to get arrested. And then around mid-2024, people that are psychic are usually off on times, but I write it down. HAKEEM Jeffries will become speaker, and then, yay, let's party. I cannot think of anybody better to replace Speaker Pelosi than HAKEEM Jeffries. It's just brilliant. He's perfect. And, in addition, Mark Elias, who is this famous attorney who's all over the country with his team working on the gerrymandering and the illegal crap that the GOP are trying to pull so they can win. And he's just slicing and dicing and, looking at the districting, So he predicts, based on what he knows, because he knows what's going on in all these states, and the new districting and getting rid of some of the gerrymandering, that both he and Nancy Pelosi expect HAKEEM Jeffries to become the speaker next year. So I'm not alone on that. Now, this is something interesting that I hadn't quite thought of. And there is, I don't know why, but there's a man that's following me on Twitter, and he's got like 400,000 followers. And he's an ex-journalist, and he's been on, I guess, all the networks. I don't know his real name. And now we've been kind of trading ideas back and forth. And he just wrote one line yesterday. Have you noticed that grocery stores are stocked? There's plenty of food, plenty of paper goods. This was never the case when Trump was president. And I sat back and I went, he's so right. So I wrote him and I said, yes, I have noticed, and some of the prices are lowering. And he wrote me back and said, this one issue is going to help Biden win. when people realize I have a lot of food and the food's available and there's nothing empty on the shelves. And then I thought, this man, I think, has a huge point, just a huge point. And it goes along with Joe Biden's kitchen table, issues. He's that Midwestern down-home guy. But this is what I wrote to the journalist. You're absolutely right. Food is primal and basic. This is pure kitchen table. Food is universal, and subconsciously people know when they're eating, something is better. We're eating every night, and the supermarket is full now. Even prices are coming down. We feel good. And I believe that operates on the subconscious level, by the way, because we cannot exist without food. And all of a sudden, we're not running from store to store to find macaroni and cheese or toilet paper, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to share that with you. I really thanked this man. I said, oh my God, you've really got a point, because as I said, eating, nutrition and food is primal. So there you go. Now, I did hear something that is giving me a little concern, but it's not even 2024 yet. And there's months and months and months for prep, months and months and months to turn this around. And I understand the Biden administration is already meeting with Black leaders to discuss this. So here's what I want to share with you. In 2020, Joe Biden got 87% of the Black vote. And Democrats actually need the Black vote to win. It's historical, all right? In 2024, he's got 62%, so it's gone way down. And like I said, meetings are happening to work on this. And it makes no sense because, just 2 days ago, Trump was giving, I'm sure he was drugged, I could tell. He was medicated, giving one of his lame speeches, and he was saying, well, he's just telling huge, enormous lies about Joe Biden and the Democratic Party because he's desperate. Huge lies. But he did say, they're opening up the borders. Everybody is invading the United States. And he went, the Africans are coming, the Asians are coming. It was very, very, very racist. So the Africans, that was the first thing out of his mouth. And I'm having a hard time accepting that they're going to vote for him. Oh my God. Anyway, this has time to correct, but I wanted to share it with you. All right. And then we're going to go on to what I now call Binder Gate. I'm calling it that, but I promise you someone else has come up with it also. But I'm not stealing it from anybody. It's just, that's what I decided to call it. The Binder. The 10-inch, highly classified, serious binder that has to do with spies and plans and, oh my God. So the Binder Gate is the most dangerous and treasonous moves possible for a president. It's espionage, it's high crimes. Meadows may have the binder, despite what he might say. Cassidy Hutchinson swears that she saw him leave with the 10-inch binder. That's a big binder. You can't stick it in your briefcase or a purse. Hard to miss. He's denying it. So what I'm not clear of, and the experts aren't clear either, is that, was there a duplicate of this binder? Was there only one binder? Could this binder already be with Putin? Or could this binder be in Ivana's casket? Which evidently was very, very heavy. And she wasn't in it, by the way. Ashes. So there is much talk right now about a subpoena to exhume Ivana's coffin, to check on papers, the binder, and information. because now there's a reason to do it. I mean, you can't just arbitrarily get a subpoena because you suspect, but now there's like, wait a minute, this is, and you know, during Trump's reign, a lot of spies disappeared and ended up dead. And I'm going to tell you that my left ear thinks Trump's antics is specifically responsible. Good news, Jack Smith has Trump's phone data and app information that occurred specifically during the January 6th riot. These are not White House phones. These are separate phones that he can do sneaky things on. So he's in possession of 2 Trump phones, not White House phones, and whatever app is on those phones that if Trump wanted to check the internet to see what the coverage is, it's there. Jack has these phones and he has experts looking at these phones. And this happened, the White House phones were turned off on January 6th from 1:21 p.m. to about 4 p.m. And the White House phone, the White House photographer was also told, take no photos of Trump or internal White House while this is going on, while the riot is going on. So Jack Smith knows a lot of stuff we don't know yet. It's great. I think Jack Smith is going to be one of the people that is going to save the United States and democracy. And as I've said before, I think the appointment or the hire of Jack Smith is basically the only good thing that Merrick Garland has done. Merrick Garland waited too long, and it caused more problems. So now we're coming to the end here. You know, I'm going to talk about this in my Patreon tomorrow, which is $8 to join, and you can quit anytime, and you can go all the way back to my original broadcasts from Patreon, by the way. I've been looking for my book, What is Good Evidence, is just about done, but I showed it to a very seasoned writer who I got very close with. He's the one who thinks The Comic Daughter is the best book he ever read. And he liked it, and he said, what about an introduction? Because I hadn't done an introduction. And I got to thinking, he's right. I need to write an introduction. So what I've noticed, my writing style is to do a lot of work in my head, and it's almost like a printer. When I'm ready to like write, or I've got some key things, it starts printing out from my head. So I start writing madly these ideas. And all I want to say is that I was in a really nice grocery store, was it 2 days ago? I think Friday. And there was a woman, you know, she was in back of me with a basket, and a baby was sitting in the basket. And the woman was, well, she had hair like mine, so she wasn't the baby's mother. And the back of the baby's head was just fascinating to me because it was like this perfectly shaped head, and it was a baby. And so I love babies and I love dogs. So I stepped back to see the little face, and it was a little boy. You could tell it was a little boy. Sometimes you can't tell, but this was a little boy. And he looked at me with these big eyes, and I said, hi, how you doing? And he just started smiling and flirting with me. And Grandma was like, she thought it was hilarious. She goes, I have to tell you, he doesn't do this with everyone. I said, well, I'm kind of a baby whisperer, and we're connecting. So I had this whole thing with this baby. And lovely. And the grandma said, I said, you must be so in love. His name was Zeke, Z-E-K-E. And he was 7 months old, so that tells you how small he was. And I said, you must be so in love with him, because this baby just glowed. And she said, oh, she goes, you know, I quit my job for my daughter, but I spend every day with him. I take care of him. That's my new job. She was just in love with him, and she was so nice, and she said, thank you. So I'm gathering up my groceries, and all of a sudden it hits me. This little baby notices everything. That's what I picked up from him. So she's leaving, and I walked by her and I said, I just want you to know something. He's really smart, and he takes in everything. I mean, he notices. And she goes, yeah, he really, really does. I walked out the door of the grocery store and I went, there's my introduction. I know what I'm going to do with my introduction now from meeting this little baby. Incredible good evidence. Now I'm going to go into it further in my Patreon tomorrow and talk about this further in my Patreon tomorrow. And then what might attract you is I'm going to give my Patreon followers the first chapter of the new book, What is Good Evidence? That's their treat. So if you want to join Patreon, you'll get to read the chapter. Otherwise, you'll have to wait till the book comes out. Paperback. And then the other thing with good evidence was I was someplace and I was going to pay for something, and I needed $1, but all I had was another 20. So I said, okay, I guess we'll break a 20. And just as I was handing the 20, a man swooped in with his hand and he put $1 in front of me. He said, here, take this. Don't break your 20. And I just thought it was a great act of kindness. I thought he was observant. He pulled out that $1. I didn't have to break my I just thought it was so nice. I like these little things. I think you can tell. All right, now we go to the quote. The quote is by a man named Samuel Johnson, who lived from 1709 to 1784. He was an English writer who made lasting contributions as a poet also. Here's his quote. Great works are performed not by strength, but by perseverance. So perseverance is something that, boss lady is going to speak to you. Perseverance is something that we all need right now, and we need going into 24. So that seemed like an appropriate. So I'm signing off as boss lady today. Thank you for visiting my left ear. Consider joining Patreon for a month. See if you enjoy it. And I will say bye-bye, and we will continue this, okay? Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you all for your great messages, even venting about things that bother you. I just love hearing from everybody. And as you can see, I really try to answer people and acknowledge people. I can do this with 5,500 viewers. Can't believe that I'm not up to 8 or 9 or 10,000 viewers. It just blows my mind, but there it is. And I'm sticking with it because you all like it. And I'm just going to keep doing it, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, make peace, make good memories. Bye-bye. Well, you know what? Let me see if I can turn Pete around, because he turned his back on us. But if I just use the towel, hold on. I'm going to use the towel. Come here, Pete. Come here, Pete. Come here, Pete. Oh, I just know you love to see him. So come here, Petey. There you go. Say hi to everybody. I know you're taking your morning nap. Isn't he beautiful? Just love my Petey. Anyway, that's your Petey treat. He's not full of personality, but he's beautiful. I mean, today anyway, he's not full of personality. Normally, he's always full of personality. Okay, my friends. Bye-bye. Have a good Sunday.